Hey, hello, comrades, and welcome to Ushanka Show Live, questions and answers about life in Soviet Union. YouTube slightly changed how the things work right now, so I'm trying to figure out how to get everything lined up properly. It's a little bit... Oh boy, there's a reason to change picture. The screensaver and this is the wrong one. So anyway, how's it going? If you guys have any questions, I put the wrong picture. Okay, anybody have a video? I have only a screensaver, but nothing else. We got quite a few people already, 26. Now, do you guys see my face? Got a lot of... Okay, so it's the good part. Yeah, as I said, I think YouTube changed the setup, so now it's a little bit better. But okay, so first question: do you like cheeseburgers? They're okay, not really. I mean, I don't mind the burgers from my goodness, Burger King. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's, so Burger King is all right. So yeah, if you have any questions about Soviet Union, please post. Let me know the sound is okay. I'm on the microphone, and it's more challenging to make a live from... See if I can get a little bit closer. From the computer, so I'm using my phone, and I'm looking at the questions on the computer. So yeah, 46,000 subscribers is super cool, very exciting. And also, I checked the statistics on Amazon, and I think we sold about 400 books total, and it kind of tells you that a lot of people, let's put it that way, older generation, because it's 50-50 amount of electronic books, e-books versus paper books. Pretty much 50-50. First question: opinion, John Wayne. Have no opinion. Honestly, I don't think I watched any of his movies. It's kind of sad that I'm heavily capitalizing his John Wayne cheeseburger, but somebody else came up with that. But I'm way behind on American classic movies. Actually, some of my co-workers are trying to help me out. They give me a bunch of videos, DVDs to watch. Like, I don't think I watched any, even like, what is the other guy that does a lot of westerns? He's still alive. The bad, the ugly, good, bad, and ugly, and all that. Like, I actually used the phrase "go ahead, make my day" way back in the 90s when I was working at camp. I noticed somebody saying it, so I said it, and the reaction was amazing. People just thought it was so funny. When I say "go ahead, make my day" with my Russian accent, but I didn't know till a couple of years ago, so over 15 years, I had no idea it's actually a quote from the movie. Also, I utilized later on, but I heard in Guns N' Roses, what we got here is a failure to communicate, and I use that a lot in the situations like we have a problem, somebody didn't say anything. People also had a good time laughing because my Russian accent. So yeah, so let's go. We got some questions, so we'll try to catch up. Do you like pashtet? Nathan asking. If you don't know what pashtet is, it's like a finely grinded meat, or it could be smoked fish, like there is a smoked sprouts pashtet. Yeah, I like it. I didn't eat for a while. My wife doesn't buy it much, and I keep on forgetting. But I don't mind. Liver pashtet made out of liver. I like it. So, oh, I got Kerry Stapleton said it's my first live episode. Looks like fun. That could be fun. Yeah, you can ask questions. You can also support my work by doing donations. There's a $sign below, and your questions will be answered before. So you will be, on my channel. All comrades are equal, but the comrades that do donation are more equal than the others. All right, moving along. Thoughts on Putin? well, Russia's paying the price for desire for stability. He will be the longest ruler of Russia, or at least Soviet Union. I think he's catching up with Brezhnev, and then I think Stalin is next. So that's pretty sad what happened in Russia. But me being Ukrainian in my previous life before I became John Wayne Cheeseburger, I'm definitely, especially not a big fan of Putin after events in Crimea and eastern Ukraine. I heard Russia never had a serial killer. Is that true? No, it's not true. I need to look it up. Kechkalo, there is a movie called Citizen X. So Fishboy, if you want to look it up, movie Citizen X, I found it actually really accurate. I was very impressed. So watch that movie. It's based on real events. We had several. The ones we know about. The ones that got caught, and he was the worst, I think. He was preying on retarded kids, boys and girls, and raping them and killing them. I think he had like over 50 people he killed. Hey, we got Svetlana from Britain. Greetings. Nice to see my subscribers from way back. What kind of shaving razors did you have in Soviet Union? Alan asking. Planning to make a video about it. My grandpa was using that scary one that you unfold, forgot the name in English, and then we also had the ones that you attach the blade and twist it in. I actually bought one of those, so my dad was using that one. Then of course many people switched to the single use or Gillette stuff. So yeah, Nathan says Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I saw little snippets on YouTube, like his classic moments, but I don't think I ever watched any movies. How is COVID being handled in Ukraine? It's a good question because I don't live in Ukraine right now. I think they did pretty good. They, it's like not many people travel in Ukraine, so that helped. And then I think they stopped public transportation in Kiev. Like that was pretty ugly in that regards. I don't hear much news about it, COVID from Ukraine, but I think our medical system is pretty poor shape. But I didn't hear any like bad news. James is asking, hey Sergey, does your mom live in the village in the winter? What is life like there when it's so cold? I actually have a video on my channel that my brother filmed for me. Yeah, she lives whole year. She doesn't want to move back to Kiev because, when you have a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law in the same kitchen, it usually doesn't work really well. So yeah, she stays warm. She has to burn wood in her brick stove twice a day to stay warm. That house is not really well insulated, but she doesn't have any mental stress of dealing with my brother's family. So I think she's there. She doesn't have a lot of to do because there's no gardening, so she just stays busy fixing clothing, knitting, and stuff like that. Next question, what was the most popular radio in the USSR? I'm not sure if you're asking radio like a piece of equipment or radio station. Radio Mayak was popular because you could pretty much catch the signal anywhere. In that regards, I'm not sure if you're asking about that. I just lost, sorry. Can you make videos on Soviet tractors? I guess I could. It's actually a good topic because the most popular tractor in the Soviet Union was Belarus, and those tractors made all the way to the United States. I actually saw some for sale in 1990s. I was very surprised. So we had several tractor factories, also were tank factories at the same time. But originally, the first three factories that we had after revolution in 30s, one was in Stalingrad, one was in Kharkov, and one was Chelyabinsk. Those were Caterpillar factories. They brought equipment, everything. They bought license, so everything came from America, and they were making Caterpillars. Of course, not the wheeled ones, but the one on the tracks, because it's easier to make tanks on the same equipment. But yeah, it's a good topic. I'll try to remember. Okay. Moving along, I got Comrade Macno showed up. Okay, our first donation, Tavarish Ronald. Tavarish paid in dollars, although he's spelling his name in Russian. If you are ethnic Russian, do you jump? I'm not ethnic Russian. I'm actually Ukrainian with 2% Jewish according to my DNA test. I'm not sure we're talking about jumping. I think there was some kind of slogan in Ukraine during uprising, something about who is not jumping, that person is Russian Moskal, but I'm not. Хто не скаче, той москаль, that was saying. I'm not sure what it's related to. Like, I'm not really following the events in Ukraine like closely. In that regards, I'm kind of moved. So I watch a little bit, but not like I don't have any TV stations or nothing. I watch from Russia or Ukraine. I have a question, why do Russian teenagers copy American face tattoos? I was watching some Russian TV and the guy had exact same. Honestly, no idea. I'm so behind on all the modern situation in Russia, Ukraine. It's changed a lot. Like when I come back, I'm pretty much, like blast from the past situation. I ask him questions. People look at me like my language is from 90s and my attitude and impressions from 90s. So that's like blast from the past. Some people think it's really funny. Okay, we got viewers from Romania. Ajbo Korești, România, ora exacta. It's all I remember in Romanian. I used to listen Romanian radios when I was in the village. Finally caught you live. Adam says your book was a great read. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate if you can post your review on Amazon. As I said, we sold about 450 books total, but only 48 reviews. So, my dear comrades, the ones that bought my book and enjoyed it, please don't forget to go on Amazon and post a review. You don't have to write the long detailed review. You can just put something like great book or something like that. I appreciate nice big reviews too, of course, but even short review is better than nothing. So thank you. I'm right now planning to start writing a book just about my experiences in Soviet Union. Title like Born in the USSR sounds really good. So that's my next project. I finished writing 1996 diaries in Russian. Right now it's I have a couple of guys that are helping me to edit it, but I don't know if I'll be translating right away. I think it's more instant to write actual book about my whole life story plus my parents and grandparents. All right, I don't know if you remember, but I found a good Soviet cookbook named CCCP cookbook. I think you mentioned that in one of the comments. I didn't look it up. I need to actually check, see if it's available. Hello from Texas. Enjoy your videos about life in USA. Thank you so much. What did you do for Soviet Army service? Golden Eagle asking. I didn't go to Army. My eyesight was too poor. First I went to college, and then after college they do pretty intensive medical evaluation. So, like Donald Trump had bone spurs and I had poor eyesight, so they actually sent me to special hospital and they like check you out because, you can fake poor eyesight quite easily, but there's a medical way to look inside of eye, and there's little humps and tells you if you're short-sighted or you're just faking. So I didn't go to Army, I would say fortunately, but several of my friends did. What are your thoughts on Zelensky premiership so far? Well, he's not premier, he's a president. I was really skeptical when he was elected, then I was impressed how he tried, but then he actually, I think, failed pretty dramatically. A lot of people thinking that he actually working for Putin, which is, I don't know what to say about that, but so far, I mean, just like in America, in Ukraine, and I'll say fortunately, and sometimes unfortunately, a president don't have like absolute power like Stalin used to have, or So it's hard to turn the ship around. I mean, it was heading in the wrong direction for so long. He tried to fight the corruption, but it's, you know, it's almost like, I don't know what to do there, honestly, but I don't think it's any really good happening. Okay, so we got another donation. It's actually really unusual. It's from Irish Partisan in BYN, so I'm assuming it's a Belarusian currency. It's kind of cool. And by the way, if you guys want to watch experience of foreigners in the former Soviet republics, and that republic is the most Soviet out of all in Belarus, you can check it out, Irish Partisan video YouTube channel. He lives and works in Minsk, and it's kind of like bald and bankrupt. He also bald, but I don't think he's bankrupt yet. So yeah, he still can afford to donate some money to my channel. So yeah, check it out, his channel. It's called Irish Partisan. So that's pretty much showing modern life in Belarus, and Belarus is the country that's still pretty much having a Soviet lifestyle. Okay, we got Adam is from Sheffield, UK. Greetings, Adam. How's it going? Next question from Logan Zimmerman. How exactly did the Soviet system of government constitutional work? You know, Logan, those questions are way above my pay grade. You know, I lived in the Soviet Union, but I honestly didn't care much about those things. Basically, it was hijacked. The whole government system in the Soviet Union was hijacked by the Communist Party. So, you know, we had technically like president of the Soviet Union. It wasn't called president, but always the person who called the shots and did everything, influenced the whole country, was General Secretary of Communist Party. And that penetrated the whole government all the way to the bottom. So everywhere, in every region, there will be local party office, and that guy will be calling shots and telling people what to do. So I don't know how the constitution wise that, but yeah, we had a monopoly official in constitution was pretty much saying the only party is the Communist Party. All right, we got another $10 donation from James. Thank you, James, so much. He mentioned again about CCP USSR cookbook. Do you know where I can get Dr. Sausage, Doktorskaya kolbasa in the USA? I promote, you probably can find it on RussianTable.com. This is guys from New York that sell a lot of food items from Soviet Union. There's a lot of meat products. I would check there. I would say Dr. Sausage is really similar to American bologna, like really similar. We just didn't have any chemicals in it, but flavor-wise, I find it pretty close. So Dr. Sausage is very similar to bologna. So yeah, I need to find that CCP cookbook. Maybe I'll make my wife to cook some of those things. We actually, she doesn't like to be filmed, but well, I could do some good videos. So thanks, James, for your donation. I appreciate it. But yeah, check it out. RussianTable.com. They have a lot of goods. I actually want to talk to them, see if they can make some kind of like USSR foodstuffs package, so you can just order and sample different popular Soviet candy. I mean, they're not Soviet anymore, but they made like that, and then different other food items. I can't say snacks. We really didn't have snacks in Soviet Union. All right, moving along. Question, do you make pelmeni? Not really. My wife didn't make any of those, and I personally, I don't cook at all. My bad. This is a really challenge for me. Like, I don't want to, if I'm not hungry, I don't want to cook. If I'm hungry, I don't want to cook either because I'm hungry. I want to eat right now. But yeah, pelmeni, that'll be actually another interesting one to try. A lot of people quit making pelmeni back at home because you can buy frozen ones and just cook them. So anyways, if you have a Russian grocery store around, you can buy some frozen pelmeni, I bet you. Next question, hello, how was the salary thing in the USSR? I mean, you got money, buy anything, or just pick you need from the store? Regards from Mexico. Okay, yeah, we had money, of course, in Soviet Union because we didn't have communism, we had only socialism. It was cash society, so you pretty much twice a month you're getting paid. In the USSR, place of your work, so people get lined up at Kassa, so they'll be, they'll bring cash from the bank, and then, you sign the paper that you received your 70 rubles or 50 rubles, so there'll be avans и получка, so be like advance and actual salary. Average salary in Soviet Union was like 130, 150 rubles per month. The highest, what I know, was coal miners. They were making 500 rubles. Then the cleaning ladies were making like 70 rubles a month. So this is, but average, like engineer salary or, bus driver, they'll be about 150, 180 rubles a month. Not much. So that's another thing. There's a word we used, uravnilovka. So like everyone is the same. That was the whole concept in Soviet Union. We don't want rich people, we don't want poor people, so we just want to make everyone the same. Didn't work really well, but yeah. And then you have cash and you do whatever you want with it. You can buy vodka, cigarettes, or whatever groceries you can find. Okay, moving again. When Ukraine declared its independence in 1991, did you feel like you were a separate country or still part of the USSR? I mean, first of all, we were super excited. We didn't really feel like separate countries because they really didn't. We didn't have a borders for quite a while. We used still rubles for quite a while. I mean, USSR officially was dissolved later on, right in November, I think, in '91. So quite a while was kind of weird, and then of course we started drifting apart. They put border patrols, then we got introduced our own currency, and so forth. All right, we got another donation, 15 pounds from Britain, from Svetlana. Thank you so much, Svetlana. Would you consider creating Soviet bedtime stories for children and adults because you have a voice for that? You're funny. Actually, when my kids were little, this was one of their favorite things is me telling them bedtime stories, and that's pretty much telling me stories when I was a kid. And okay, I'll quickly tell you, since you have such a generous donation, there is a bad story for you, because in England, we're probably looking at about almost 8 p.m., right? So when I was really tiny, I honestly don't remember how, probably, I was pretty stupid, so I would say 5. So, if you're ever familiar with cows, they have two shapes of poop. So if cow walks, it raises its tail and start pooping, right? So you have like a little pancakes, just they flap on the sand, and there's a little tiny pancake that dries up. Now if the cow stays in one spot, for example, munching on the grass or whatever, then you have cow pie. So you have a big fat kind of, there is a word in English for it. So, and then of course, as it dries up, it creates this crust, just like brownie, right? So one time, as I said, I was tiny. So in the morning, and usually cows in our village, people let them out about 6 a.m. and the herder guy who is in charge, I'll have separate video about it, but they take cows out to the fields, to the meadows, and they eat grass, right? So I walk outside on the street, and I see this big, beautiful, I can't say beautiful, like fat cow pie. And that was maybe about, I would say, 11 a.m. or noon, so sun was already baking hot quite a bit. So the poop pile already had a nice patty, thank you, crust. So I'm barefoot, when I was in the village, pretty much 90% of the time I was always barefoot outside. As long as if it's raining and it's cold, then of course I put rubber boots. Otherwise, I was outside barefoot all the time. So I'm coming and I'm curious, So I'm starting to gently touching it with my toe, and I was like, man, it feels firm. So in my idea, for some reason, I decided to step on the top of it because it feels firm. I'm like, wow, it dries up good. So when I step right on the top of that cow patty, of course, the crust breaks in, and my bare foot goes whoops all the way in that poop, and that liquid poop just kind of like come out from the crust and engulf my foot. So of course I'm horrified. I'm pulling my foot. I'm screaming, running back to my grandma. I'm trying to run inside of the house, and of course grandma see my foot, and she's like, "Stay outside!" And I'm crying. I'm so upset. So that's kind of my recollection. It's just I remember that horror when I feel this my foot breaking in, and there's just that yellowish brownish poop, just kind of like a slime, just whoop, all around my bare foot. So this is my bedtime story for Svetlana from England. I hope you enjoyed it and you can sleep really well, have this beautiful image. Alright, so let's try to catch up. So I answered, I said most young people in Ukraine were super excited about Ukrainian independence in 1991. We're almost there. I have a lot of people asking me about, tell the stories like what was going on right at the end of the Soviet Union. We're almost there. We're like end of 90s, so okay. Greetings from Kansas. Hello. Next question. Cheburek is a Turkish origin food. It's from somewhere there. I'm not sure Turkish or it's sounds like Georgia, which is Republican Soviet Union, former republic. I think chebureki from there, and I guess every area there has kind of similar product. What was the hardest part of adjusting life in the USA? That's a good question. A lot of it was a problem for me because when I moved, first I came to the United States, I got to camp for inner city kids from Chicago. So it's like a south side, west side Chicago, which is ghetto. So it's all black kids, black counselors. So of course I had quite a shock first year, and I came to America 4 times before I actually stayed. So it's like I was shell-shocked several times. So when I actually remained here, it wasn't that bad. My English was pretty decent. A lot of just little culture thing, like when people come to my house and they don't take shoes off, they would piss me off. It's just kind of this, we take shoes off. It's like big, it's very rude to do. This farting in public, not like in public, but people like just think it's funny, and it's really embarrassing in Soviet Union if you let the guests go. Not taking hats off when you're in a house or when you sit at the table. It's just kind of these little things. I think that was the most annoying part. And then of course, I'm married to American lady. This interesting attitude, like for example, you have a problem, right? So my mentality, if I have a problem, I'm trying to find a solution, and Americans thinking what to buy to fix that problem. So this was always like, well, we can buy this. I was like, no, we don't need to buy that. We need to think about how we can fix it. We got another donation from James. Thanks, James. Was any stand-up comedy in the USSR? Not like here in America, where we did have some kind of comedians that would perform. Of course, it was heavily censored by government, but we had several. Zadornov, can't think on top of my head. There's some people from the former Soviet Union, probably can put the names, but we did have, but usually it was like a part that would be program, and several comedians would come out and have a performance that kind of tell jokes. Zhvanetsky is a really good one. He's kind of late Soviet Union, and I like him the best because he's a Jewish person, so he had really like fine humor. Like one time I was listening to him when I was very tired and sleepy. Okay, we got help right here. Zhvanetsky, Raikin. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Raikin, but I couldn't understand the humor at all. I was late, I was tired, but then when we listened later, we had a good chuckle. Like, he is really nice. And we of course didn't use any, like here a lot of comedians, there will be Hazanov, another one. Thanks, we got Alexei helping here greatly. Our humor was not at all around like sex or this kind of sexual things. Like here they can get in detail, start making sounds. A lot of people think it's super funny. We didn't have that kind of humor, wasn't that rude. A lot of American humor performances that like really rude. I mean, I get used to it, I'm thinking it's funny, but like looking back, like my God. discussing all this. You gotta perform that. Like talking about marriage, they'll go into the oral sex and into details. It would be like not acceptable. All right, comrades, so I just want to let you know, we have right now 100 people watching and only 36 likes. Well, that's really poor behavior on your part. If you're enjoying this live presentation, you definitely can click like and support this show, and it actually helps to go up in the ratings for YouTube, and maybe we could get some random tankies showing up and asking questions. So we have somebody from Привет из бунтующего Khabarovsk. If you guys didn't hear, there's quite an uprising right now in Far East Russia, Khabarovsk. They had their governor arrested and removed. He was not part of the Putin party. He is actually from LSDRP, the Libertarian Party, and he beat the Putin candidate. And then he wasn't performing how the Moscow expected, so he got arrested and shipped to Moscow. So now Khabarovsk, they have a quite uprising there. People are not happy with Moscow behavior. And something talking about there's apparently you're supposed to ship a case of cash every year to Moscow for keeping the position, and he wasn't doing it. Next question: what is the best way to learn Russian? I'm trying hard, but it's very hard. Well, you need to like immerse yourself in the language, so like you need to cut off like other language as much as you can. And right now on YouTube there's a tons of Russian language like lessons, so you just need to find, I don't know which ones, but there's quite a few. And you need to try to watch movies in Russian, maybe find movies we're familiar with in English and just watch it in Russian. Put the stickers all over your apartment or house and just name all the items, like, oh, I'm going to toilet. So that should be. Hacker Russo says audio is robotic. Yeah, there's something with my new phone. I bought this Motorola Z3 and I like the phone, but for some reason, and I have a mic on me, the sound is not great. Next question: did you visit Tbilisi? Tbilisi is the capital of Georgia, but real Georgia, not American Georgia. No, unfortunately, I went only as far as Baku, Azerbaijan when I was there. Unfortunately, I didn't travel that far. Okay, we're moving along. Sergey would like to know if you have found some advantages of being from the USSR and living abroad. Do people find you cool? Did you help you to make friends, or was it DJ London is asking? Oh, definitely. There's a lot of, because I know better. It's like my accent helps a lot. Accent is instant, and if you have too much of it, it's like salt or sugar. If you have too much of it, it's annoying. But if it's just the right amount, it actually make you cool or exotic. I had quite a fefew compliments here and there, and tell my wife about it, but some females at work or something like, oh, you have a nice accent, stuff like that. So it definitely, if I start speaking, people pay attention because, hey, this unusual accent shows up, or I like to kind of bring my point when if people start listening to me, I'll just say, hello, comrades, and it right away snaps people to attention because that's such unusual greeting. So in my case, it's definitely, I think it's a big advantage for me to have a accent, and it disappears, like it becomes smoother, I would say, but okay, so moving along. So I like to be a little bit unique. So yeah, most people thought it's cool. Sometimes there's some people that completely cannot understand any English with accent, so they get frustrated if I answer the phone. When I used to work at the furniture store, they're like, I need to speak to some American, I don't understand your accent. Like, okay. Okay, there's a Russian killer called Chessboard Killer. Killed 64 people. I didn't hear by him. What do you think about Putin remaining president of Russia until 2036? Well, he is... Okay, he maybe will be president until 2036. Definitely they paved the road, they removed the barriers in the constitution, but it still needs to be election. But of course in Soviet Russia, you choose election doesn't choose you. And you know, like a famous saying by Stalin, it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. And I think it's going on right now in Russia, people who count the votes. So he needs to still run election and win an election, but definitely I don't think it's a good idea. Like, you could tell about situation in the country is about how often the constitution being changed. Like, if you look at the American Constitution, I mean, there's quite a few amendments, but it's 200 years old, right? Something like that. But not any major changes done. I think when did they change Constitution that you can't be more than twice as a president? I think there was in 30s, right? Something like that, or 40s. So, and there's some countries like former Soviet republics that change Constitution like every 5 years just to fit to match it current president. So yeah, it's not a good thing, my personal opinion. Did you interact with minorities like Romanians? Nope, not really. In Kiev we didn't have a lot of foreigners. Later on we had some Polish people coming to bring their goods and sell. So it's the only minority, but it just was a guy from Armenia in our class. Otherwise not. Okay, so there's a comment from my back about straight razor, thanks. Yeah, my grandpa, that's why he used straight razor. Okay. There's another movie, Child 44. I know there is a book and there is a movie, but I'm not sure if it's just kind of like a story or it's based on real events. But then, of course, there was a lot of talks about children being killed and consumed, eaten actually during the Holodomor, but there's no really like confirmation of that. But you know, when people were starving, some people were actually hunting children or anybody else to kill and eat. Same thing apparently was going on in Leningrad, but just a rumor. How was the situation with unemployment in Soviet Russia? Well, it was illegal not to work in Soviet Union. Like, if you don't work for more than 3 months without any excuse, like medical condition or something else, they'll put you in jail and make you work. So of course we had a 0% unemployment. Was it the real unemployment? No one knows, but we didn't have unemployment because it was just illegal not to have unemployment. It's like in America right now, I don't think, like if you look how many we have registered drug users, there's not 0%, right? Because no one is registered, because you'll go to jail if you're like, hey, I'm using cocaine, put me on the list, they'll put you in jail. So technically there's 0% drug usage in America because it's illegal. So it's kind of similar. It was illegal not to work. You'll be named a parasite of society and you can get in prison for that. Not in prison, but in jail. Like, I think it was up to 3 years in jail for not doing it, for not working. So that was one of the like talking proud points. We have 0% unemployment. Like, of course you do. Like people, there's a story about the Soviet teacher who got tired of teaching, so he just said, you know what, I'm gonna raise rabbits and sell meat and make fur hats, you know, those famous Ushanka hats. And they arrested him because on the book he was not working, so he was parasite of society. Okay, so yeah, Andrei Chikatilo, his name is on Wikipedia. You can learn about it if you want to learn about mass killers in the Soviet Union. Citizen X, really good movie. It's based on real events. Andrei Chikatilo story. Strongly recommend. And Child 44, I said I'm not sure if it's based on real events or not. Okay, did people in Ukrainian USSR speak Ukrainian or Russian in private? It depends on the region. Western Ukraine spoke Ukrainian everywhere. Eastern Ukraine, Kiev, we spoke Russian everywhere. It wasn't like that you in private. It was not illegal to speak Ukrainian, but most schools in Kiev, capital of Ukraine, were Russian speaking. So I grew up as a Russian speaking Ukrainian. So, but we had radio and TV in Ukrainian, although like public transportation announcements were in Russian. It's kind of bizarre. So I wasn't prosecuted to speak Ukrainian, but was encouraged to switch to Russian. What is your opinion on USSR leaders? Well, you can go through my YouTube channel. There's a playlist called Soviet Leaders, and I basically kind of talked about every leader. And so yeah, check it out. I'm kind of trying to learn more about Khrushchev. I think he's getting really not the proper treatment. Let's put it that way. Okay, so sorry, my thing just jumped. I'll also have a donation from John Migdov, just saying hello to John Wayne Cheeseburger. That thing is kind of funny. I truly enjoy talking about it. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, we'll talk about Soviet leaders. I have a question from Comrade Makhno. It's another actually interesting topic to look into. It's Makhnovshina, Makhno anarchist movement in Ukraine. That was pretty interesting. The whole like little mini country there for a while, fighting both Soviets and anti-Soviet forces. I have a question. Do you know that socialism is a worker ownership and control over means of production? Also, was there any democracy in the USSR? I heard Lenin say there had Soviet democracy. I mean, this is the whole trick, you know, when we started getting into theory that socialism should be worker ownership, and Soviet Union didn't have real socialism because state owned the factories, not workers. I think quite quickly Soviet government realized that it's not working really well if workers own factories. It's just, you know, like look right now, we all know that smoking is bad. We know that smoking is killing you, right? It creates cancer, and still millions of people smoke. It's just people, I don't know, something about people, right? So you give workers factory and they're like, okay, so what do we do now? You know, like, you remove the profit, drive, so like what we're gonna make things for if we don't make any profit? So the whole concept, like, okay, we just let workers do whatever they want in the factory and make whatever they feel like it just doesn't work. So they quickly just like, okay, government owns the factory and you need to make tanks here and you need to make bullets here and whatever. So in theory, yes, socialism is the worker ownership. It's almost like cooperatives here in America, but in reality, it just doesn't work for, you know, central planning. I mean, it's pretty much like a big anarchy, almost like, hey, there's your factory, and then like, in theory, it's always great, but in practice, it doesn't work. And democracy, I mean, if they put you in prison because you say something against the Soviet leader, I don't call it democracy. If you have election and you have one person to elect from, I don't call it democracy, but you know, that's me. Hey Sergey, was it illegal not to work in the Soviet Union? Yep, that's what I just said. We had a law. You'll be called parasite of society and go to prison for not working without a reason. Does the rest of your family want to move to US? Surprisingly not. My mother came and stayed with us for a month, and she pretty much said, I'm cool with you. Like, I know you're all settled and you're doing good, but she preferred to be over there. My brother wanted to come and visit, but unfortunately American embassy didn't give him visa, and now he's married, has a kid. Now it sounded like he may be interested, but I don't know. My family they're happy in I don't say they're happy, but they're doing okay in Ukraine. Of course, it helps that I'm helping them, but yeah, they're not like Melania Trump's parents that decided to use this chain immigration and move to United States. So yeah, if you are guys interested in my winter in the village video, you can look it up. It's on my channel. It's called Modern Ukraine. How good was public transport in the USSR? In the cities was really decent. Out in the country was pretty bad. I mean, it's like if you want to go to town, you had bus only 3 times a day, like super early in the morning, the middle of the day, and afternoon. So of course, if you don't have a car, which most people didn't have a car, if you just need to go to do some small errands in town, 30 kilometers away, it's going to be a whole day project. And traveling was quite painful, but it was inexpensive. But in the cities like in Kiev, yeah, I never had need or feel like I need a car. So it's kind of the whole theme of that is going on, like villagers got a really short stick in this whole socialist experiment. So yeah, traveling, like when we went from Kiev to my village, which is 250 kilometers north, it took us 12 hours by buses. Not like I guess it's public, it's like Greyhound, right? To get from Kiev 250 kilometers to the village, 12 hours. You leave your home at 6 a.m., you get to the village at 6 p.m. Now you can do the same probably in 4 hours, but you have to pay more money. Okay, we're moving along. Was Russian classical music popular other than occurrence? I guess among some people. I mean, I was young. When you're a teenager, you hate classical music. I couldn't stand. I started listening a little bit, and it wasn't Russian classical music. I started paying attention to classical music after I listened to Vivaldi. Like after Vivaldi, the Seasons, that's I kind of started liking. But that time I hated classical music. And I never asked people like, hey, if somebody liked it, of course. Okay, moving along. If you have thermoplane windows in old villages, homes, winter is tolerable. I replaced windows in my mom's house, but her brick is not insulated, so it's still, and floor is not insulated, and ceiling not insulated. So it's not easy to keep the house warm. Favorite Russian composer? I don't really have any. I mean, I think Shilkunchik, the Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky, that's what I can handle to listen, but otherwise, I mean, now because of kind of like this whole nostalgia, the music from program Time and TV, Хачатурян, да, Время вперед, I like it, but otherwise I never liked classical music much. Actually, recently I tried to play Vivaldi in my car. I played for a little bit and like, okay, I prefer to listen book on CDs. There's next question in Russian actually. Каковы были лучшие и худшие вещи советской системы? What was the best and the worst things in Soviet Union? I also have a video about it. What was the good, the bad, and the ugly in the Soviet Union? So you can check it out. I talk in detail about it. So cheeseburger or pelmeni, different. I'll prefer pelmeni over cheeseburger. I don't know why, but like Five Guys, I'm not bad, but I'm not a big fan of cheeseburger. It's just, I mean, it's alright. I said I like Burger King the best. John Wayne cheeseburger made me wonder if you ever saw images of American cowboys and Indians in the USSR. I'm not sure we talk about cowboys and Indians. We actually, when we played games, we usually played Germans and Soviets. So like you guys played cowboys and Indians, we played Germans and Soviets. So that was our type of war. But I think we had some little toys and it was called, cowboy. I don't think so, but we got our own little culture among kids on that. Another question about learning Russian. It's just to say there's a lot of lessons on YouTube, and there's Duolingo program you can download. Right now with modern technologies, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, Russian language is pretty hard, but is your book in English now? Yes, you can buy it on Amazon. It's called American Diaries by Sergei Sputnikov. You can buy it from me directly. I have copies. People who want to have it signed with autograph. I just ordered a new batch. I sold my first 50. I have, I think, one left. Can you speak Ukrainian? Yes, not that good. Ukrainian was my second language. Now it's my third language. So Russian, English, Ukrainian. I understand fluently. If I try to speak Ukrainian, I'll be putting some English words into it. I've already done that before. How are Romanians treated in communist Ukraine? I know not about Romanians, but we always had jokes about Moldovians, which is kind of Romanians, right? So they're not that bright, but we really didn't interact with Romanians at all. I think it was kind of attitude that they kind of like gypsies. That's all I remember. The multiply edge razors made in Ussr or double edge safety. Safety blades, I think it was also. I think they took German factories after World War II. One was in Leningrad, and I think they still make those blades. And I think when I bought this Chinese blade, there was from Leningrad. Blades were from Leningrad, so that was, they still make those in the German equipment from way back then. Kerry said that he bought my book and enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Kerry, and he will rate it. Moving along. When did you decide to write a book, and was it hard? I don't know if you guys are aware, my YouTube adventures actually started on the Russian side. 5-6 years ago, I discovered that apparently there's people have interest about how the Russian immigrants live in America. So I decided to create a channel because a lot of Russians here, Ukrainians, former Soviets, they have their Russian wives, they live in Russian communities, so there's kind of stories about pretty much this is how we live Russian style in America. And I have a different situation, so I created a channel called Druga America, the Other America. So I have it for about 5 years, about 28,000 subscribers, and I kept diaries when I was coming to America to work in the summer camp. I kept diaries forever. Like, I'm one of those. I should be a journalist, but I wasn't brave enough. Tried to get into the. I should go to college to be a journalist, okay? But it was like a lot of competition, so I just decided my chances were very low, unfortunately. So I never went that path, but I always kept diaries, I always wrote stories. So I kept really detailed diaries about my adventures in America. And one time I decided to read, like, hey guys, I actually just was going through my papers. I found these diaries I kept in 1995, 96, 97, 98. So I'm going to try to read them. If it's interesting, let me know. So I started reading, and people loved it. So I ended up reading this whole thing in Russian. Then I showed the whole pictures, and then people like, are you stupid? You have a book on your hand. All you need to do is just put it, make a manuscript of your diaries, like you have everything described in detail, and it's very interesting. So that's actually what triggered my decision to write a book, because I never actually wrote the book. So yeah, that was about a year or 2 years, and then I decided to try to translate to English. So here you go. So I have 2 books, Американские дневники and American Diaries. Kind of similar books. I made quite a few changes in English version. I added more stories about my grandparents, kind of about Soviet Union. Okay, we got another donation from ActionCom. Thank you so much. Were unusual stories passed along during Soviet era, like Dyatlov Pass or UFO or ghost stories? Not during like normal Soviet Union. I think Dyatlov Pass, the disappearance of a bunch of students, their death, I think it was discussed a little bit, but usually UFO, everything was suppressed. I mean, like, we didn't have, everything was government control. So if government didn't want anything to be shown, it wasn't shown. But of course, on a private level, there was a lot of talks about it, that people saw something weird, especially when you're a pilot or you're in Navy, there'll be stories circulating, but not really. And ghosts, we believe in ghosts, of course, so all these things when the person dies, how you cover your mirrors, you put drinks for the ghost. So that was just part of the Soviet Russian superstitions. Okay, moving along. We're almost over. We got 5 minutes left. So I'll try to catch up with some more. Oh, Golden Eagle is actually from China. Greetings. Audio is speak and decrease audio gain. I don't know how to do it. I just have on the mic. We had an interesting comment from Yulia Nazarenko. Hi, Sergey. I like to listen to your videos because I understand your English. So here we go. So my English is easier to understand than English of native speakers. Trips to outdoors, like going camping in Soviet times. So once again, I have a video about it. It's called Soviet Vacation. You can check it out. Quite a few people, that was like a weekend thing. If you live in a city, of course. If you live out in the country, you're busy tending your garden, so no one, of course, did that. But going, we didn't say camping. Our expression просто, you just go in the forest or by the river, set up tents, and you fish, and of course you drink a lot, have a fire, play guitar. Stuff like that. So that was quite popular among city people. And if you have a car, it's even easier, but usually just people hop on the local train, something like that. And since everything was government owned, you can just go any place out in the country. There was no private land, and you just pick the good spot and you do your camping. So that was pretty easy. I already answered a question about democracy. Like in my perspective, I don't think we had any democracy, because democracy should be voice of people and having a choice, and we had no voice and no choice. The Communist Party decided everything for us. Which languages does your children speak better, English or Russian? My children don't speak any Russian. We speak all they speak only English. I think you should check out the Russian channel Garage 88. Moving along. Turn down your gain on the mic. My mic is just a regular little thingy, so there's nothing to change there. It just has a battery switch that you can turn the battery on if it's on the camera. But I apologize. I need to figure out some settings on my phone. What's going on with the sound? JC Charger says you're my hero. Thank you. Would you stay, that's a good question, would you stay in the Soviet Union if it never collapsed? They would keep me in the Soviet Union if it wouldn't collapse, because you couldn't leave the country without permission. And so probably I'll be still in the Soviet Union. I'm sitting here talking to you because Soviet Union went bye-bye. And I was managed to then, of course, opportunities open up. During the Soviet Union, oh my goodness, try to get out, yeah, good luck. Now I want a bologna sandwich. Periodically I have cravings for bologna. It's kind of weird. I'll be shopping and it won't be on my list. I'm quite a hardcore about list. So, and then I see bologna, I was like, God damn it, I have to have it. And my wife like, it's full of chemicals. And I was like, well, it is what it is. I just have a little glass of vodka. It will neutralize chemicals. And okay, well, asked about composers. The question, did you ever visit Lenin Mausoleum? No, I didn't travel much when I was in Soviet Union, unfortunately. I never had interest actually to go and see Lenin. I don't know why. Then I was on the Red Square, kind of walked around, but that was already in '95. So okay, so we're actually right now caught up on the comments with my bedtime story about cow pie. So, how was Alexander Kerensky seen in the USSR? So Alexander Kerensky was the prime minister of Russia after 1905 revolution, and of course not in positive light, because he was a capitalistic bastard. So I don't know much about him. It was just kind of like, hey, he is a bad guy, and this is all you need to know. There's a comment, YouTube automatically blocked it that my story was full of crap. So, nice played, comrade, nice played. The question, how the USSR made antidotes, because I thought you couldn't say anything about leaders. Well, in public, of course, you can't say anything about leaders, but in private, during the Brezhnev era, it was kind of kitchen talk. People be making fun and talking jokes. But in public, of course, you couldn't do it because they can arrest you for anti-Soviet propaganda and send you somewhere where you can see sunshine twice a year, once a year. Can you explain why Soviet Union collapsed? No, really. It's a big mighty tree that were all rotted inside, and little wind, and tree came down. Everyone like, wow, what happened? Well, it ran its cycle. Oh my goodness, we had a humongous donation by Twilight City Studios. We still need to talk with you guys. I remember seeing you before, but you were talking about maybe getting in touch, but of course now with all this COVID situation. So question, do you know about City Beautiful YouTube channel? He made a video called How Did Planners Design Soviet Cities? If someone grew up in Soviet Union, I believe it would be cool to make a video about that video. Yeah, I need to check it out. I mean, a lot of planning that Soviet Union did was similar to the planning that Nazi Germany did. They just made extra wide streets and big central squares so they can have parades. But yeah, I need to check it out. That's actually a good question. You know, we had a lot of cities made from scratch, and I wonder how different they are. But I know, like Moscow, they demolished like so many historical buildings. And of course, famous one is the Church of Christ that they exploded during Stalin. Then they tried to build, then they tried to build this big giant Dom Sovetov. Then a war started, so then they turned it into a big swimming pool, and then they put the church back up again after Soviet Union was over. Okay, so we have Alexei Aksionov. So I have a viewer from former Soviet Union, Alexei, and he has mixed feelings about my channel. So he's watching me very closely and comments and corrects me if I'm making mistakes. So he just posted that Kerensky didn't rule for a long time, and he was same as a white. We had a civil war in Soviet Union, well, in Russia after revolution, and in America it was blue, I think, right? The north was blue, and I'm not sure south what color was south. But in Russia we had whites and reds. So he says that Kerensky was like whites, but at that time we didn't have a term whites yet. Farting in public is weird and embarrassing. Okay. As I said, in America, there's a lot of humor in like in the movies. That's one of the funniest part when somebody rips the big one. It's kind of funny. Did you have several types of cheeses in Ukraine? Well, Soviet cheese is the cheese made from the milk of the male goat. At least that's what goes on a Soviet cheeseburger. But we had not many. I'd maybe say 5 max. I honestly didn't follow that time. When I go buy cheese, my mom wouldn't tell me like, make sure you buy this type of cheese, not that type of cheese. We definitely have a selection like here in America. Usually it's just if there's a cheese for sale. I remember Швейцарский, so Swiss cheese, we had that. Then I think we had peasants cheese, крестьянский, maybe it's крестьянское масло. So in Kiev we had at least a couple of kinds available, but you just buy any kind you have, you don't really care. Did the Soviet people ever believe they would have a communism one day? Later on, no. I think in the beginning, yes. It died with, I think pretty much when Khrushchev announced it, there was a final kind of like hope, and then of course Brezhnev announced we have a developed socialism, there's a new concept, and like don't worry about communism, and after that people didn't care much about ideology. Everyone just trying to set their life the best they could. Okay, we have another donation. Thank you so much, ZD. Did regular people have to be debriefed when they return from regular approved travel abroad? Yes, apparently they did. I never had a chance to travel, but people who went on cruises, I don't know if you watch my videos, there was a whole long series, long and boring videos about this cruise in 70s. So yeah, when you come back, before you get your passport back, we had 2 kinds of passports. We had passports, inner passports for inside of USSR, and then for traveling outside the USSR. So you get your passport when you get on a ship on a cruise, and you give up your Soviet passport. Then on the way back, you sit down, you talk to a KGB officer, and they talk to you, and then you return your foreign passport, and they give you back your Soviet passport. I don't have details what kind of questions, but they probably asking your impressions and what did you do and stuff like that. Whom did you talk to? What was your first opinion on American barbecue? What I remember, first thing I ate was we had this kind of like mac rib in the camp, and I liked it. I like barbecue sauce. I mean, I tried ketchup for the very first time when I was 16. So yeah, I liked it. I mean, now I'm not, it's okay, barbecue sauce, but definitely you guys consume way more meat than we did, because we didn't raise animals for meat except pigs. So our beef was always tough. And that's why I remember one time we had a cookout at work, and this guy, he's really like proud of his steak skills. So I tried and I gave him a compliment. He said, I prefer processed meat, but I have to tell you, your steak was pretty decent. Like, and you should see his face drop, because the person tells him in his face, I prefer processed meat like sausages, bolognas, but your steak was pretty good. Okay, moving along. Mr. Cheeseburger, were there topics you refrained from privately discussing even with family, close friends in Soviet-era Ukraine? Maybe in some families. My family was really apolitical. I mean, we were just busy trying, I won't say to survive, but really didn't care about politics much. I think I mentioned once, my parents just let me come up with my own ideas. My uncle Misha, that one time when I was like 4th or the 5th grade, I was talking how great Brezhnev is and how great social society. He kind of gave me this quizzical look and kind of told me that they're full of crap. And I remember that shock. It's the first time somebody mentioned something not in a positive way about the Soviet leader. So my parents didn't really have any of these kitchen conversations. But they were blue collar. Usually it's more intelligentsia that steers the pot. So So, all right, moving along. I'm trying to wrap it up. It's already past 1 o'clock. How much food did you have in the Union? We didn't starve. I mean, in the 80s, 90s, no one was starving. But you need to understand the supplies were at different levels. Like, for example, Moscow was level number one, like premium, so they were supplied the best. Then Kiev, like Leningrad, other capitals of republics were second level, so it was a little bit less goods, but still stores were pretty stacked. And then it goes downhill, and then you go down the village, they only had bread for sale 3 times a week. Otherwise, shelves were pretty bare, so people pretty much lived off land. So no one was starving. We had decent food, but you can't just go anytime in the store and load up on all the food items you want. Like my mom was always coming from work. She would walk from work, of course, no car, and she will hit several stores because that store maybe has potatoes but has no carrots. That store maybe has sour cream but no cheese. So you have to hop like through 5 stores in order to get something. So you can cook some food. So it was not fantastic, but and then of course you can go to bazaar and had a nice selection, but prices were at least double what in the stores. So since most people were tight budgets, going to bazaar all the time was really expensive. Okay, moving along. Sergey, can you make a video on Soviet war in Afghanistan? It's pretty heavy topic, and you see I wasn't there. It's on my list, but there's more topics that I can talk from my experience, but eventually I probably will look at that because it's a pretty interesting topic to discuss. In America, we commonly depict Soviet Union as evil, tyrannical country. What do you think about that? Do you agree or disagree? It's neither. I mean, what's evil? I mean, if you look at, we just talked about Afghanistan. I mean, apparently America was really interested into tricking Soviet Union into going to Afghanistan. Forgot Brzezinski, I think, in his book wrote that they really wanted them to do it, and they were really happy when Soviet Union did. At the same time, while being happy about it, because now we're going to give Soviets their Vietnam, Soviet Vietnam, in public. They're like, oh my God, we can't believe they occupied this country, and we're gonna boycott the Olympics. So but definitely, I mean, we weren't in North Korea during Brezhnev, but I wouldn't say it wasn't a democracy for sure. Question about Makhno. I don't know in detail. We know that it existed. There's a lot of jokes about Makhno, but I don't know much about it. I need to actually look into it too. I was in Paris a while back, and actually I found his grave totally by accident. I was walking around this cemetery in Paris, and I found his grave. That was pretty cool. It wasn't a grave, but it was like his ashes on the wall. There's a word for it when they store ashes, and that was quite a surprise. There's still flowers there all the time. A lot of people still remember him and put in flowers. Okay. In America, we were told all Soviet citizens were oppressed and dominated by government. It's pretty much, it's if you don't stick out, and like Sakharov, academic Sakharov, that got in trouble with the government, people live their lives just, it's pretty much was like a shallow pool with very strict lifeguards. You don't need to worry about drowning, but if you say anything against lifeguards, you can get punished pretty severely. Okay, keep on talking. All right, guys, so I want to say thank you so much for joining me. We got about 97 people now. Over 100 was the time, and let's do 100 likes. We got 98. Let's hit it. See if we can cross the line of 100 likes. That'll be fantastic. And hey, look at that. And oh, we got Radian Grichanian join me. So this is the guy who helps me with he helped me with the translation of my English American diaries. As I said, you can buy it on Amazon all over the world. Actually, I have customers from Australia, India. It's pretty amazing. And he's helping me with 1996 Russian version, and he also came to America in 1996 to work in the summer camp in Wisconsin. If I didn't answer your question, please post it in comments below this video. I'll try to maybe make a video answering your questions. But we had some family things coming soon, so my wife already gave me a stink eye a couple of times, so I need to go in. So thanks very much for joining me. We'll talk to you soon. До свидания, goodbye. Now I'm gonna try to figure out how to shut off this thing because it doesn't do it normally. Let's see. Stop streaming. Hey, by the way, the cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on Amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life